Hi there, welcome back to the Benley project. Now look, I'm going to put my hands up straight away. I'm in big trouble with Harry who's filming me because I was told after we last filmed not to touch this at all. Every single thing has to be filmed. But you know what it's like, I'm building the 5.4s Hondas for my day job, and I've had a bit of time here in the evenings, and me being me, I just couldn't leave it alone for a week. It's a week since we last filmed. So I'm going to give you a rundown of what I couldn't resist doing. It's just sat here, it's impossible, isn't it? Everyone knows what it's like. So I haven't done much, but I've done a few bits and pieces. I have given it a wipe down, so it's not gleaming perfectly polished, but it's had a wipe down so it's not covered in dust on just the main bits. I haven't done the engine or anything. So I just started having a cursory glance. What have I actually bought? Now the first thing I noticed is the rear wheel was in crooked. One of the chain adjusters is slightly bent. I've straightened it a bit. So I put the rear wheel in straight. There was no split pin in the big nut that holds the axle in. There was no split pin in the brake torque arm. Now look, obviously that's going to be calamitous. If you're riding along and either of these come off, you're in big trouble. That's why they have a split pin. So it wasn't properly done, so I've redone it. I've redone those, just put a split pin in, make it safe, because I'm hoping we're going to get this started fairly soon. So that was that. I noticed the clutch lever didn't feel right just when I was sat on it, imagining I'm riding it. That felt wrong, and then I had a look. It was fitted completely and utterly wrongly. So look, it's always advisable to do a quick check. So the wheel was loose, the clutch was wrongly adjusted. So I've done those and given it a cursory glance over. Wipe down, and now I'm ready. Thank God I can actually do something proper to it. So the first thing I'm going to do, oh yeah, the other thing I did, look, this fuel stank. The fuel that was in it was revolting. So I took the tank off, I tipped out the old petrol. I haven't put a flow liner kit or anything like that in it and relined it. I wanted to know if it leaks anyway. So I tipped the old fuel away, put a splash of new fuel in it, swilled it round, tipped that away, another bit more new fuel, slopped that around, tipped it out. I then took the fuel tap off. The filter stays in the tank. That was gummed in where the fuel had all gone rock hard. I managed to get that out. I've cleaned the filter because the fuel that was in it, I turned the tap on and nothing came out on reserve or on, so it wasn't ever going to start like that. There was no fuel coming out the fuel tap whatsoever. So I have unblocked the fuel tap. I've cleaned it with brake cleaner, blasted it with an airline. I've got that flowing, and it's got fuel in it now, which is brand new. So fuel wise, I know it's getting from the tap to the carb, and that's okay. And the other thing I've done, because of the state of the fuel in the tank, I knew the carb was going to have to be looked at. I've ordered a carburetor rebuild kit with all the rubber gaskets and bits and pieces in it. Hasn't arrived yet, but I took it off anyway because I'm so impatient. I'll have to take it off again and fit all the new gaskets, but just to see it, to give it a fighting chance of running. A mate popped round and he's got an ultrasonic cleaner. He offloaded it from his van, put it on the side here, and I took the opportunity to clean the carb out and bolt it back on. But look, this still won't run perfectly. It needs all new gaskets on it. But yeah, so I've cleaned the carb, I've put fresh fuel in. That's basically the main things, and tightened up a few bolts and straightened the wheel, adjust the clutch. So I think now I'm going to really get involved. The first thing is this rack. One thing about the rack, I am in two minds. I don't like the look of it. I want it to look like a classic little Honda Benley, but these are very, very practical, and I want this bike to be practical. However, I just don't like the look of it. So I'm going to take it off carefully. I won't break anything, hopefully. And if I want to at a later date, it's only a few bolts to put it back on. So that's going to come off now. I think I'll have sling over panniers when I go to the shops. So yeah, the first thing to do is get the seat off, and then we'll look at getting this off. And I'm sure the bolts may be rusted or whatever, but it's time to get involved in that. So just get the right size. It's an Allen key on there, which it shouldn't be. It should be a hex head bolt. We might change that, we might not. I think it's that one. I always get the wrong side. Oh no, that's correct. So, one other thing, I just need to get a tray to put the bolts in. So I've just got a couple of plastic trays to put the bits in. Normally, I don't always stick to this rule, I put left and right. So if I'm round that side, I've got one round there as well. I am hopeful that this thing's going to run without too much trouble, especially as I have cleaned the carb. I'm pretty sure it won't be perfect, but there you go. So this is coming out. That should have a washer on, and it hasn't got one, so we'll be putting a washer back on that. Let's do this side. This one hasn't got a washer either, and the bolts are definitely long enough to take one. I don't know why people don't put washers on. You know, they're pence. And this should come off now. Right, there we go. Put that to one side. It's quite heavy, that seat. It's a steel base, actually. These steel bases, here's a tip for you. Look, these are getting very difficult to obtain these. We are going to get a new seat cover and put it on there. We'll have a go at trimming that ourselves. Now, they're metal. And what happens is with these, you see loads of them. These seat pans are completely rotted away. And what it is when this cover gets ripped and you're riding it in the rain, the water goes into the sponge and it can stay wet forever. Even through the summer in a heat wave, that sponge is still wet and those rot. And you can get pattern ones, but they're not the quality of the original. So that's really nice, that's really solid, it's not rotten at all. So that suggests this hasn't been out in the rain an awful lot, because it has got rips in the seat look, but luckily he's taped them up, which is always worth doing. Just stop that sponge getting wet if you're riding an old bike, because those do disintegrate in a few years if that sponge has got a gallon of water in it. So we're lucky there, we've got a good seat base, so that's happy days. Let's get the side panels off. These just push into the rubbers. Be careful with these, because when these are dried out, you can break the stubs off the side panel. I'm lucky with this bike, with the box that came with it, I think I've got 8. But these break off when those rubbers are dry, so you put a little bit of grease on them, which I've done, so you can see they pull out, they're not too difficult. When they kind of get welded in when the rubbers rock hard, and you snap these off. So always be careful with those. Get this one off. That's got the original toolkit in it, look still, and it's got the fuse with it as well, so that's great. Oh no, I'm corrected, the fuse is on the other side. So it's got the fuse holders, nice little detail to still have. Now the side panels are off. Look, you can see that's quite easy to get to everything already. Now, this battery is the original out of it. This is another thing I've done, which I shouldn't have done. I should have been being filmed, couldn't resist it. I took this out, gave it a charge. It wouldn't hold any voltage. I checked it with a multimeter, and after 10 or 12 hours, it had 1.9 volts in it. Well, one thing with these, they're only 6 volt anyway, and if the battery's really low, you can get all sorts of ignition trouble, and you need a good battery in these little Bentleys. They've only got 6 volts. So make sure you have got 6 volts. You know, 2.5 is not good. You can start it on the kickstart, which you do generally anyway. The electric start's better when it's already warm, or if you stall it at the lights, it's great. You don't have to get it in neutral and kickstart it. So I have fitted a new battery, which is here. So I just got a brand new like-for-like battery. It was 26 quid. That's the other great thing with this. My Harley, when the battery goes, it's a fortune, and I have to save up for it. There's 26 quid, well, I can get that together, so that's cool. So I'm just looking at this. This, by the way, is not a Honda rack. Look, someone's done a bit of skullduggery, which, fair play to them. He's got a rack on here, and it was sturdily mounted. I didn't think it was particularly dodgy. So yeah, if I take these two off, by the look of things, this is homemade. There's a big metal plate here, underneath the number plate, that he's made some brackets and put these arms on it. It's quite clever, really. He's done it quite well. However, the one thing that isn't clever is that if you put a lot of weight on this, it's being held by the mudguard, and you can crack the mudguard here and all that sort of thing. So you can put, you know, it's useful to have a rack. You wouldn't want to put a lot of weight on that and use it for a long time. It'll make the mudguard fracture near the mount. So let's get an adder for spanners. I've got some spanners here. Let's see what size these are. Take that one off. What else needs to come? I think it's only these two and the rack will come off. Can't get the washer off. I'll unbolt that in a minute. I'll keep these bolts, they might be useful at, or, you know, at a later date, but I think they're stainless actually because they're nice and shiny. I don't know how long they've been on here. Again, he's got no washer under the head of that bolt, look. He's a bit of a no washer merchant, whoever's owned this. He's got one on the nut, but not on the top. I always put them on both. Oh, I've lost my little ratchet, hang on. I think. This might, I need to hold this, I think this might. These bolts, I'll take them to this frame, so I've got the bolts if ever I want to put it back on, it's 5 minutes. Right, there we go. That's the first bit of ironmongery off. Just chuck these on the side, I'll deal with them later. So that can go up here. Now, I've got to get the number plate off because he mounted it on a big metal plate that's bolted to the rear light mount, so all that's got to come off. These will be going back on. Nicely for a change, he's put yellow bolts in the yellow and black in the black. A lot of people don't bother. I always try to. Obviously in emergency it doesn't matter, but it is quite nice they're colour coded, so we'll keep them. See how this plate's attached behind. Just have a look. Yeah, I thought I'd gone mad there for a minute. There is a big metal plate on there. We might get a new number plate at some point if we really feel like being lavish. I quite like a new one on there. I'd like a black and silver one really, but it's still not old enough to do that. We might run the gauntlet and do that. A lot of people do. But you are risking the long arm of the law if you do that, so watch out. That one's stuck. Still doesn't want to come off. Oh, there we go. Now that plate is not original, so that's why we've taken the number plate off. Let's just see how's he fixed it. To be fair to the guy, it's a reasonable way of doing it. It's not a complete and utter lash up, but it's not what. You know, the original Honda one was nice and neat and tidy. It's not that size. I've got a feeling I need to get another. Oh, you can't make it up. It's an 11mm. That's so unusual. It's normally like 10 or 12. That's an 11. I think I've got one here. It's an unusual size. it's an 11, it's hiding. There we go. These screws are horrible, I don't fancy. There we go. So I'll keep this plate because look, I can always put this back on if I decide, you know what, or you can put it back on if you're going on, you know, distance for one day, look, the evening before, spend 20 minutes and bolt it back on because you've got everything to put it on. Where did that go? I'm going to put this together now. It's another tip for you because it's an unusual size. Put the nut back on. Look at that, it's got a brass nut on it. No, that's not a proper normal motorcycle thing. That's why it's 11mm. And in a minute I'll be able to put the number plate back on and without that, so... Ooh. The good thing is, he's not drilled this plate to put this on. This weighs a ton. It's like it's off a battleship. And that's all on the back. See, even that with this weight, this is only a thin steel mudguard. Then when you've got a top box on it, and a load of luggage, and maybe a tent and a sleeping bag bungeed on the top of this thing, that's not good for that mudguard. So I'm happy we've taken that off. We'll put this back on so I'm road legal. Much better already. Right, after a bit of a battle, mainly because I don't know these bikes, let's just see these go tight again. That's that one. I think that looks a lot better, and I'll just have some little sling over panniers that I've got on the shelf up there. There we go. That's the seat back on. I think that's a whole world better. That looks like a lovely classic little Honda 125. Right now I have got this, the chain guard. I am going to put it on actually. I don't think it'll take long. I haven't fitted it yet. As ever, this was a bit crunched. I've just straightened it up. Hopefully it'll all go back together. So let's just see. This was the other reason I straightened the rear wheel and bolted it all in tight, because that wheel wasn't in straight, and I think the chain would have fouled this. So we're just going to have a quick... There's a rubber thing in there, that stops it vibrating. Oh, there we go. That's that. There's that there. Well, that looks reasonably there, actually. Let's have a quick... let's get that out. Here we go. I've got some bolts. Obviously, I didn't have the bolts with it. He just gave me the chain guard, the chap I got it from. Let's hope it all bolts up together. When you're doing this, you don't want bolts that are too long, or else they could go through and contact the chain. So I hope these fit. I've got these little things out of my tray here. I've got a few bits and pieces in there already. These are stainless, so hopefully they won't. I'm sure it would have had hex head bolts in it, but there we go. Put that one in. Don't tighten this up at this stage, because you might need to move it to get the other one in to locate it. So just get it most of the way there. Then, if I can see there's going to be a bit of a problem in a minute. When I put the bottom one, the hole's down there where you can't get a spanner on that because the exhaust is in the way. So I might have to get my cameraman to sit on the bike to squash the suspension so it's clear. But we'll see. So you might get a reverse angle, funny angle filming this in a minute. We'll see. There we go. I normally hate chain guards, but because this is... Oh, that's cool. Look, it's not fouling anything yet. So that's cool. Now this one, it's all got to slot together and I'm not too sure because I didn't take it off. Let's just have a look what happens there. That's too far forward. Oh dear. Oh, I've got I knew this would be a fiddle. Oh, there's the hole. Right, let's get that one in. Again, don't nip it up yet. Even getting this in is going to be a problem to start with. I'm going to have to put my torch on again. Sure, that's going to go up in there. I should really check the other side now. Well, they don't make this easy, Honda. Obviously the chain guard man wasn't chatting to the exhaust man when they designed it. I don't think I'm even going to be able to get that started. If that was a hex head bolt, actually, to be fair to Honda, that would be easy. You'd be able to grip it. So, right, Harry, lie on the back. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. That's it. Don't let it up. We'll cross-thread it. Right, with help from my cameraman. That's not fouling the chain case, look. So, quite surprised at that because it was all a bit bent when I got it. Let's just nip these up, check they're tight. So look, without the rack on and that on, I need to get, there's supposed to be a rubber grommet in there. I didn't get that with it. I'll try and track one of them down. If I can't get a genuine one, I'll measure the hole and just, you know, order one off the internet. So I think that's looking, it is a shopping bike after all. Now the other thing, I think really I could fire this up now and just see how it actually runs, because as I say, I have given it a cursory glance over in the week where I've been tortured, where I was told not to touch it. So look, we've got a new battery. I've flushed the fuel. I've unblocked the fuel tap. I have ultrasonically cleaned the carb. Haven't got new rubbers and gaskets and things on it, but this carb, it's a single carb bike. It's so easy to get off. And also the other thing when you're doing that, these rubbers, they're very old, and sometimes you can split them and break them. You've got to be very careful, but actually these are very pliable. Look, these can go like rock. And they're almost, well, you've got to buy second-hand ones now. Getting new ones is almost impossible. So I think what we'll do is we'll put a splash of fuel in it and then see how it runs. I'm quite intrigued to see how it runs now I've done the carb. I've not run this, and before it wouldn't run. It sort of fired and went bang and shot a flame out this exhaust, but apart from that, it didn't want to know. So I'm sure it's still not going to be perfect, because I do want to put, especially the new inlet gasket from the carb to the inlet. They're famous for sucking in air there, and if they do, that can be problematical. Obviously it'll run lean, and that's not clever. So yeah, I'll just get some fuel and we'll put that in. Obviously the old stuff had to come out, it was rancid. Now, in the UK, God bless the government, we have got E10 fuel, which is high ethanol. Do not put E10 in one of these. It will dissolve and eat everything. Your fuel pipes, I believe, will get eaten. I've heard of it even eating the needles in the carburetor that meter the fuel. So this is E5. Now look, everyone says, oh, fuel's all the same in the UK. Can I tell you it isn't? I've recently found out that E5 fuel, you can only buy it now as high octane, you know, the 99 or whatever it is, I don't know the exact figures. So that's the only one that's E5. Now, there's different kinds of E5 in the UK, people don't realise this. Esso is the only one where their E5 does not have ethanol in it at all. And I believe, I'm not sure on this, and please you know, let us know if you know differently. But I was reading a thing on the internet this morning. Esso E5 has no ethanol. So that's the thing to put in your vintage vehicle. If your vehicle's not E10 compatible, go to Esso and buy your fuel if you can. But even Esso, their one, where they distribute it from, the one with no ethane in it, that is south of Birmingham and east of Exeter. So if you're in that area, you're a lucky load of people, because that one has no ethanol in. So get that and stick that in your bike. Because, well, if you love your bike, do that. So I'm only going to fill up at Esso. Where did I put the fuel cap?
Behind
That's
you.
another thing. It's got a nice rubber on the fuel cap, so hopefully it won't leak all over the tank if this does go and we can ride it. I am excited, but this is always a great moment. Look, this bike's an unknown project. I tried to start it and couldn't. It went bang, shot a flame out. And now, with a few bits of tinkering, now look, I've still got to check the timing. I'm going to have to revisit the carb. I mean, in a minute, I'm going to chop these down because this is dodgy. So, fuel tap on. Leave it for a minute. We'll give it a bit of choke. Now, fingers crossed, this is going to run. It might rev like mad, it might not go, it might just go bang out the exhaust again, because I haven't checked the timing. I don't know if that banging out the exhaust was the timing or because the carb was so gummed up. So here we go. Oh, Nick, that fired a little bit. I'm amazed at how... Oh. Mind you, I wasn't even twisting the throttle there. That engine, that's not rattling at all. Well, this hasn't been run for, I think, 4 or more years. It's a bit woolly. That's probably because the carb isn't cleaned out properly. Listen to that. That is as sweet as... I am going to get new exhaust. These have been welded up, but they're not blowing. I don't have to. And the other great thing, this is a 1980 machine. I feel like I'm winning here because there's no tax, no MOT. I've got the insurance done. I added it on my rider's policy. That was 40 quid. It's cheap, you know, classic bike motoring. I think it's fantastic. No wonder they're going up in value. I'm absolutely over the moon. I haven't ridden it yet. I don't even know if it's got all its gears. But as a start, that's not... I mean, it sounds lovely to me. I'm amazed at how unrapply that engine is. I'm not going to run it for long because I haven't changed the oil yet, but it's good to just get it started for a very short while on this, because I checked it on the dipstick, it had oil in it, and it looked alright, felt alright when you've got the dipstick in your fingers. And by starting it, it will get any debris that's in there in suspension in the oil, so that when I dump the oil, all the rubbish will come out, but I wouldn't ride it any distance like this. Is literally get the oil stirred up, get all the sediment in the engine in suspension in the oil, and then we'll put new oil in it. It only takes a litre and a quarter. But look, that's ticking over okay. It sounds absolutely sweeter. And because it started that easily, I don't think the timing's a million miles out. We'll do the points, well I'm assuming it's points, it should be, unless it's been converted. And the latter ones were electronic, so I ain't got a hold on that. But I'll check the points, I'll check the timing, and I'll make sure all the gaskets, sealing the gaskets on the Carburetor. I'm over the moon. I think for 500 and something quid, this is happy days. And remember, I've got all the wheels to do, and this is going to be a great little project. My gut feeling on it, I think was right. I mean, that sounds amazing. Just check the lights and everything. So this parking light, that's working. The main light's working. Okay. Main beam, the main beam warning light's working. You have to have that for an MOT, even though it doesn't need an MOT. Indicators, look, they're 6 volt. They're not the best things in the world, but that's perfectly adequate. Brake light. A sort of slightly brighter glow on that. Look, I'm quite happy for a spin. I put decent mirrors on, I've got spare mirrors, I've got two. I don't think they're quite the same, they don't matter to me longer to me, they're slightly different angle. Not worried, they're genuinely